and will be available on the Acton MBS website. And the URL is actually at the very bottom of this slide, but it might be not visible because of the images of from our videos. But so I'll drop that in the chat later. The website. So for this lightning lab, we're very pleased to have Nieke Hoenjet, who was until recently with Wageningen University. Acton MBS is an initiative of EIT Climate Kick to increase the uptake of nature-based solutions and to establish a growing and sustainable innovation ecosystem, bringing together cities, there are around 30 of them now, and researchers, as well as practitioners and other experts and stakeholders to support the innovative scale-up of nature-based solutions in cities. Our so-called lightning labs are knowledge-sharing sessions that are intended to be relatively short forums from within our community and beyond this community of practice, and the objective is just to engage in a process of collective learning. So after Nieke's presentation, we'll have a discussion that my colleague Jure Jurek from Global Infrastructure Basel and I will help facilitate. And now over to my colleague Montserrat Budding from Wageningen University and Research. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, as Andrew mentioned, in this lightning lab, Nieke Hoenjet will present the findings of her master thesis related to nature-based solutions, titled Natural Stormwater Treatment Systems in Medium-Sized Cities in the Netherlands, an evaluation of the technical aspects of implementation. Nieke studied a Master of Environmental Sciences at the Science Group Water Systems and Global Change at Wageningen University, and contributed to Work Package 3 research on nature-based solutions tools within the Acton MBS project. Currently, she's doing her internship in Norway, and in a few months from now, she will finish her master's degree and will be open for work opportunities. Thank you, and Nieke, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Montserrat, for the introduction. Unfortunately, the internet connection is not very stable. That's why I have my video off, but I will let my face be visible at the Q&A. So indeed, I did my master thesis on natural stormwater treatment systems in medium-sized cities. And in this very short 7-minute presentation, I will share the most important results of this thesis. So I looked at what lessons can be learned from the technical aspects of implemented stormwater treatment systems. And within this types of systems, I looked at wadis and water machines. Wadis are low-lying grass areas, and purification takes place through infiltration. And the second one is water machines, which are large-scale retention and water storage basins in combination with halophytes for water purification in Breda, Enschede, and s-Hertogenbosch, which are front-runner cities when it comes to nature-based solutions. And the goal of this study was to find out what lessons can be learned so that other medium-sized cities can build upon these experiences. I jump right into the results of my research. I looked at 4 technical aspects. These include construction code and standards, local correct in the Netherlands. But I found also that this did not impact the implementation of these systems. In literature, there's some different construction codes help to enhance the implementation of nature-based solutions, but others say that these hinder the innovation and development of new nature-based solutions. Also, it's difficult to have construction codes because of the local circumstances. And I found out, that local characteristics have a huge impact on the implementation, such as groundwater level, topographical relief, and soil permeability. But in the frontrunner cities, techniques were known to deal with those local characteristics by, for example, sand-clay exchange, or the use of drainage pipes underneath wadis. So local characteristics did have a huge impact on the implementation of nature-based solutions, but techniques were available in these cities and people knew how to deal with these local circumstances. Can we go to the next slide?
Yes, please.
So I also looked at tools, like I said. Tools were mainly used as for inspiration and as in the design phase for calculations on the nature-based solutions. But I found also that the availability of tools played not an essential role in a successful implementation of these types of nature-based solutions. And actually, this result is opposing from other studies that say that tools play an essential role, especially in mainstreaming and upscaling the implementation of nature-based solutions. About the knowledge and experience, I found out that there was limited knowledge and experience, especially with regard to the water quality aspect of the wadis and machines. The hydraulic functioning, there was more knowledge about it available, but also there were many other partners from abroad and also from within the Netherlands, other stakeholders that did have specific knowledge on operation. These guys, could you please go to the slide? And I also was interested in which of these four technical aspects had the most knowledge and experience. They said if you don't have the basic, a very solid basic knowledge of urban water management, it's not possible to implement and develop such innovative systems. And 25% of the informants said that actually the local characteristics and techniques were essential. But more importantly, all of the informants said that the technical aspects did not have not a major role in for successful implementations. These were rather good communication, involvement of all relevant stakeholders from the start of the project, including the users and maintainers. Be ambitious, to have a clear goal and make a goal-oriented design, to collaborate with all relevant stakeholders, and also an early division of responsibilities. Please go to the next slide. So to come to a conclusion, it became clear in my study that institutional challenges were larger than the technical challenges. And with regard to the technical aspects, the limiting factor was knowledge and experience on the water quality aspect. And also that it's very important to have clear goals and make a clear goal-oriented design, and to customize your natural stormwater treatment system or other NBS to local circumstances. Please go to the next slide. So as for recommendations for research, it would be good if more researchers, if there come more clearer definitions on types of NBS, because different definitions are used for similar systems, and it's sometimes difficult to compare and evaluate different types of systems. Also, the role of tools in NBS is not there's a lot of difference in studies of their role. So it would be good to find out better their role. And also a lot is known on the hydraulic functioning of wadis, but not so much is investigated yet on the environmental functioning. And for municipalities, it's recommended to have a good communication from the start, and also to set up a management and maintenance plan, including monitoring of water and soil quality. And in general, it's important to raise awareness on the possibilities of nature-based solutions in sustainable urban water management, and to share knowledge with the parties and municipalities. Could you please go to the next slide? So I want to thank you for your attention. I'm sorry for the bad internet connection. I hope not too much is missed, but feel free to contact me if you have questions or you want more information about my research. Thanks.
Thank you, Nieke. Thank you very much for the presentation. Yes, we had some issue with the connection, but I think we could follow you. I think it's a very interesting project, and I would like to open Q&A session now. So if you have questions, anyone on the call, please feel free to ask. Maybe I can start, if I may. Have you done or have you compared the nature-based solutions that have been implemented with gray solutions that are, that are normally implemented for this kind of purpose? Was there any comparison done or not on this?
I did not compare the nature-based solutions with gray infrastructure. No, that I think is outside of the scope of this research. I really wanted to learn about the nature-based solutions in order that other cities can learn from it.
Yeah, okay. So you focused on benefits that are created by these solutions, these specific solutions, and you kind of explored the replication potential, right? And how to enable them in other municipalities.
Yes,
okay.
That's what I did, yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anyone who has questions? We can open the Q&A. Please, you can just jump in. You don't need to raise your hand.
I have a question. You mentioned that there were different definitions of the nature-based solutions that you used in your study. Can you mention an example of these multiple definitions, and which ones did you use at the end for your research?
Yes. For example, for wadi, there are different terms such as swale, bioswinge. So there are many different definitions, and there are also different types. So you have simple wadis and more advanced wadis with drainage tubes. But in some literature, they are really seen as different types of NBS. And in this study, I used 2 simple wadis, so just low-lying grass area, and 1 advanced with a drainage tube and gravel slots underneath. But I did not know beforehand, before I started on this study, that there were so many different definitions, and that makes comparison maybe a little difficult. So I hope this example makes a little clear the challenge there was.
Yeah. Also about the urban wetlands, in your study you use another definition, right?
Yes, the water machine.
The water machine. Okay.
But there are also different types of water machines. Some are really used as water retention and purification of stormwater, but others are used for water quality improvement of mainly effluent of wastewater treatment plants. So also within water machines and constructed wetlands, there are different sources of water, which might make it difficult to compare them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else has a question?
So I'd like to ask a question on stakeholder involvement. So Nieke, you emphasized in the beginning of your presentation and the end of the presentation as well, the importance of involving relevant stakeholders from the outset, from the beginning of the projects. And I'm just wondering if you have different examples of how the 3 different municipalities went about stakeholder engagement, perhaps with different levels of effectiveness or different levels of context appropriateness to how they reached out to the right stakeholders, and maybe a marketing campaign or education on what nature-based solutions are, or how that may have differed with the 3 different cities.
Yes, it's a good question. What I can say about this is that in Enschede, for both the water machine and the wadi, there was a good involvement of the relevant stakeholders from the start of the project. And for wadis, the result of this was that the citizens were less afraid of the risk. They saw the wadi as a risk, but by involving them from the start and explaining what the wadi means, this fear was reduced. And also for the water machine, it meant that by involving the maintainers already in the design phase, things that could not be maintained were already excluded from the design so early on in the project. However, at the water machine in Breda, for example, the maintainers were not involved early on in the process, and they did not know exactly what maintenance was involved and when they should start. So there was a gap in between when the water machine was finished and when the maintenance was could properly be executed. So that shows that involving the maintainers and the users is important already from the start of the water machine. And I think in s-Hertogenbosch, also the relevant stakeholders were involved from the start. So the process went more smoothly from the construction to the maintenance process. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, very thoroughly, I would say. Thank you. That's really interesting. That's quite interesting.
I would have one additional question, if I may. How this was financed? I mean, was it financed by municipalities? And if so, how much? I mean, do you know the capex of this? Of the cost, how much money these water machines cost at the end?
I have not really looked into the finance aspect of these systems. What I know is that the municipalities in all cases take the lead in these processes, and also in finance they do quite a part of the finance. I know for the water machine in Enschede, it was really a collaboration also with the water board and the province. So all these parties also financially contributed, and also a landscape NGO. For the other systems, I actually I have too limited information to share with you on financial aspect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And perhaps my last question, you mentioned that during your research, tools were not relevant or important for the successful implementation of nature-based solutions. What is exactly what the municipal authorities need in terms of tools? More knowledge, more accessibility, more trainings? Do you have more findings on this?
One thing I have to start first with is that these are front-runner cities, and in most of the cases, or in a part of the cases, there were really no tools available yet. For example, one of the wadis I investigated was implemented 20 years ago. So nothing was available and no software was available to calibrate also the calculations they did. I think so. All of the informants I'd asked about the technical tools said that no advanced modeling calculation programs are needed because it's not that complex to calculate. However, I think because of the knowledge was such that really jumped out as an important aspect. Maybe knowledge sharing tools such as repositories like OPLA and urban blue-green grids. Those types of knowledge sharing tools, I think they can be very helpful. But then also municipalities need to be aware of the existence of these tools. So I think it's also important to raise awareness at municipalities about the availability of tools and to find information and experiences.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope municipalities can contact us to give more trainings related to tools and keep disseminating them and our research.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes.
So one final question for me. I think that this, I will give actually the opportunity to anyone else just for a second. If there's another person with a question, I'll just wait a few seconds. So please jump in. Okay, so for me then, I'm just wondering if you can comment actually on your research approach, which you said, of course, was a qualitative approach based on interviews. And so this is more on maybe what you can share to those of us working on various nature-based solutions projects who will then be studying, or, writing studies, case studies of various projects of what you think the benefits of your methodology were that emphasized a qualitative approach with interviews, and any lessons from that you could share with everyone, please.
I'm not sure if I understand your question very clear.
Sorry, let me try to rephrase. Just if you could comment on any lessons from the methodology, the qualitative methodology that you took on the research that might be useful, that the lessons of that might be useful to other researchers working on case studies on like snowball, for example, is one interview technique of finding the right stakeholders who are experts through recommending people, for example, but just of any lessons from that and the qualitative approach too versus quantitative.
I think this qualitative research approach helped me to get more to get deeper into get more deeper information about the specific cases. In a qualitative research with surveys, I would have more data, but I could ask less specifically what they mean with the influence of the tools, for example. What I do want to recommend maybe future researchers on case studies is to do more research per nature-based solutions, because for me it was limited to 2 interviews per system, but there were so many involved that I did not have a full view of how different parties experienced the implementation process and the necessity for tools or construction codes, or how it influenced the process. So I did semi-structured interviews which allowed me to ask further on specific topics that required more explanation than I first had thought maybe when I made the interview questions. So that was a benefit. But more interviews per case study, so maybe less case studies in one research assignment. That could be that could make it even better.
Thank you. Great. And we're just a little past the half-hour mark, and so I think we'll conclude here. And on that note, Nieke, actually, so we understand that you yourself have shifted from researcher to practitioner. Nieke has recently moved from the Netherlands to Norway, where she's just starting a job with an engineering firm on the environmental team, focusing on nature-based solutions as a practitioner. So we wish you the best with that, and thank you very much for sharing this, sharing your research with us on the 3 municipalities and all the lessons from that. And thank all of you for joining this lightning lab. And I just would flag that we have another lightning lab planned later in the month. For the time being, it's the 28th of December. Should be at the same time as this one. With Philippe Chagnon, who will discuss the legacy, including the public perception of nature-based solutions projects that were completed about 10 years ago. And so looking at the legacy of those projects in Longvic in Eastern France. So do look out for details on that. Thanks very much again, Nieke, and thank you all of you for joining us.
Thank you all for being here at my presentation.